Do you mind starting off by just telling us a little bit about your stories that got you to doing the becoming the CEO of a charity and why your family's got this charity, maybe?
Gosh. So Seed was co-founded 24 years ago. I mean, I can't believe that. And it was co-founded by my mum and dad whilst I was in the grips of an eating disorder. I'd gone from being a really happy, carefree young girl. I had my brother, two sisters, mum and dad. Like there was no family issues apart from me and our Chris fighting over who wants to watch cricket and who wants to watch Home and Away Neighbours. The usual. God, that's showing my age, isn't it?
My
Um,
age as well, Gemma. Don't you worry about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
That era of 5 o'clock Home and Away and 5:30 Neighbours, all of that. But yeah, like they were quite a bit older than me, but there was never any issues at home. I felt very loved, very cared for. I couldn't have asked for more, in terms of our financial stability at the time. Like, so basically painting the picture of everything was idyllic. And I remember I was quite a tomboy, and I was always larking out. Larking is playing out in Hull speak.
that's
Larking out with the lads. The girls were running around the playgrounds doing hopscotch, and I was like playing football in my shorts and me bright red trainers with my Dumb and Dumber bowler hat haircut. But I was happy, and mum and dad were always very, very open about embracing who I wanted to be and how I wanted to look and what I wanted to wear. And at that point, I really couldn't give a knack. Like I was just happy. And then puberty started to kick in, and sort of my body changing and my outlook changing. And I remember sort of saying to mum, do you think I could get my hair cut into a more girly hairstyle? Do you think maybe I could wear like a nice dress like the other girls wear? And bless her, went to the hairdressers, got it cut into a little bob, and that grew out. And then she made me a dress because she's an amazing seamstress. So she made me a dress. Um, and it just felt like that joy was very quickly taken away from me, and that identity, I wasn't allowed it because the green eyed monster came along. And the dynamics in the playground changed very, very quickly. The girls became very nasty, and not all of them, but the ones that what it's like being in those scenarios, the ones that count. I mean, there's a film called Mean Girls for that reason, isn't there? So I started to get bullied, and it was never physical. It was always words, and it was always painful because I could never articulate with my words why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And I remember sort of thinking, what had I done that was so wrong to warrant this? And then equally at the same time, the dynamics were changing in the playground with the lads. Like, kiss chase became a game. I don't know anybody listening who's not our age. Like kiss chase is like you run around the playground, and the boy comes and taps you on the shoulder, and then you get a kiss on the cheek. It's so daft, but like, it was changing, and our curiosities were changing. And but for me, I found it very alien because I'd never been seen as like that before. And whilst my physical appearance had changed, I was also excelling at sport. I had a reading age of 16 at the age of like 8. I had my drama, and I was getting the lead in all of the plays. And I just felt like everything went wrong when I started doing well and started to blossom. And I remember overnight, it felt like everything changed in my head. And I remember being in the bathroom in Hull, and like it was one of those chaotic houses where there's only one bathroom between 3 teenagers, the young one, me, and my mum and dad. So there's our Chris wanting to have a shave, there's my dad wanting to have a wee, and there's me in the bath, and there's my sister trying to get the airbrush from the mirror and all that. So my point being is that it's a very like liberal home. I remember I was in the bath, and dad was there like brushing his teeth, and I was in the bath, and I think mum was bobbing in and out. Anyway, I remember standing up in the bath and looking at Dad and going, Dad, am I fat? And I honestly don't know where that thought came from, because I'd never, ever been conscious about my weight. None of the bullying that happened was about my weight and physical appearance. And that was it. Life changed forever. Mum and Dad took me to the doctor very early on because we were so close, that I remember him sitting me down and saying, Gemma, we can see that you're not happy and you're losing weight, and we're concerned and we think you might have something called anorexia. And I'd never really understood what anorexia was, but I felt relieved that Mum and Dad were able to put a name to it, and that it wasn't me going crazy.
Yeah.
And we went to the doctor, and the doctor weighed me and said I wasn't low enough in weight to have a problem. And it was probably just a phase, and to keep an eye on me. And then within a year, I was admitted to a children's psychiatric unit, put on bed rest, and given 24 hours to live.
Wow.
And that became my life for 13 years, in and out of hospitals, units. And that was the reason Seed was set up, because there was nothing. There was nothing, not just for me, Andrew, like there was nothing for my mum and dad and my family. Like they got torn apart by a broken system, like fingers being pointed to my mum and dad, like trying to get it out of me that I'd been abused, which I categorically hadn't. Trying to point fingers at my siblings, like it was just hell, really. And I felt at the time it was all my fault. So like the system and the care system that I was meant to be getting help from actually probably made me a lot worse. And Mum and Dad decided to make a change and create a safe space for people to talk about eating disorders, for the parents and loved ones to get support as well. And we became a kind of a charity of experts by lived experience. And bear in mind, this was when I was poorly as well. So like Mum and Dad not only trying to support our family, drive up and down the motorway to see me wherever I was in the UK in a unit, because there was nothing in Hull. And then running a charity themselves. I mean, they just blew me away. And yeah, it's kind of a full circle journey of hope, really, that I'm now recovered and I'm now the CEO of that charity.
Let me ask you a question. Do you ever find the pressures of supporting, teaching, or caring for someone else overwhelming and wish you had access to more support and information? The Able to Care podcast, in connection with Able Training, has created the ablehub.uk, where for less than the price of a coffee a week, you can access exclusive podcast content, resources, events, and over 45 certified online courses, covering topics like self-care, understanding dementia, neurodiversity, first aid, conflict management, financial advice, and so much more, with new content and courses being added each month. We are so confident that you will benefit from the Able Hub that we are offering 14 days access completely free of charge. No contract, cancel anytime. Become part of the ablehub.uk community and gain the support, knowledge, and resources you deserve. Don't struggle alone. Be able. Find the link in the description.